Well, hello everyone, and welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by the Superstore Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, serving the entire New York City tri-state area and beyond. They have the lowest prices anywhere on salt, sand, more salt, Pelado, mag ice pellets and flakes, and I can show you the mag ice pellets and flakes along with the spreaders and the shovels and everything else that they have. And plus, they've got fabulous snow blow. I love the color of these snow blowers. It's just, kind of orangey color. 24-inch blade, 30-inch blade. I always thought the wider the blade, the better. Certainly for me, where I lived, I definitely needed the wider blade, and of course, tons and tons of rock salt at the lowest prices anywhere. So head over to Omni True Value Hardware, 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. Joining me now on my left is the famous Joe Rayo, taking a break from the Red Skelton show tonight to grace us with his presence. And how are you today?
Would you like me to do Red Skelton's most famous monologue, Guzzler's Gin?
No.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
Do a little Jekyll and Heathcliff with two seagulls.
Right. Hey,
well,
hey, Gertrude, there's a hole in the nest. And what does she say? Birth control.
Oh, no.
Yes.
They once were up, Jekyll and Heathcliff were up there, and they saw one of those big 737s come roaring past them. And Jekyll said to Heathcliff, he said, "Boy, did you see that bird go flying by?" He said, "Yeah, you go like that if your tail were on fire."
Yeah. Oh, good Lord. All right. So, excuse me, we got a cold couple of nights ahead. I was 30 this morning, and I think my high today was 44. I got myself a new Accurite weather station, and I put it in the other room. Yeah, I thought it was time, and seems to be working pretty well. Unlike most electronic devices these days, which require several advanced degrees in anything technology, either that, excuse me, or you have to have a 5-year-old handy. This one was actually pretty easy to do. Put the batteries in, turn the darn thing on, put a switch at either A, B, or C to match the sensor switch on A, B, or C, and luckily they were both at A, and that made life simple. And there you go, plugged it. I didn't even have to plug it in because it also runs on batteries, so it was good to go, and works pretty well. So I also got my fireplace fixed because I had a bad ignition box, so I couldn't light my fireplace. So now I have to fix one more thing. I accomplished so much today, Joe. I bought a new garbage pail. I went to the I got rid of the garbage pickup. I was getting regular garbage pickup, and it was $24 a month, which wasn't too bad. They come once a week, but I don't make a lot of garbage. But otherwise you got to drive down to the town dump, and it's 10 miles away. And at the dump, they charge you just $1.75 a bag. So anyway, they raised it. The garbage people were going to raise the price to $32. I was like, no, I'm not paying $32. So I went down today. I took about 10 days worth of garbage that I had, and it cost me $1.75 just to put it to throw it in the bin. So you know what? I really feel like I have a sense of accomplishment. I bought new brighter light bulbs, so 5,000 Kelvin, so that the shot looks nice and bright, and the room looks nice and bright. It's like I said, got stuff done today. That was definitely a good thing.
Sounds like you did have a very good day, and I think on the chat board a while ago, I'm not sure who brought it up. Maybe it was Chuck Cardillo or one of the moderators that you had told him that today you had the best day health-wise that you've had in about 2 months. That's and you sound
Oh,
good
yeah,
too.
no, no question. Just all the way around, just a really good day. I'm one of the things I have to do is I have to I have to go back to normal eating, and I have to figure out what foods work and what doesn't work. So it's basically trial and error. So every day I've been trying, different things of the regular foods that I like. I actually, uh, the other day, I cooked a meal for the first time in since Thanksgiving. I made a roast chicken with stuffing and cornbread stuffing and potatoes. And I have to tell you, it was absolutely delicious. So far, everything that I've made or everything that I've eaten, nothing has bothered me. So baby steps. I just, it's the only way because there's no set diet for what I have. And for what works for some people might not work for somebody else. Some people could tolerate a high fiber diet. I might not be able to tolerate it. So you have to just figure, you just basically have to figure it out on your own. So that's my little adventure. So meanwhile, we've got weather, which is why we're here. I don't have anything. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Revealing, maybe, from what I saw today versus what I saw last night versus what I saw yesterday. I'm kind of feeling like I'm still in the same place, which is basically in a state of confusion. I am liking the fact that various runs of the guidance over the last 2 days has given me anywhere from 4 to 10 inches of snow for this weekend. If that low goes as far south as the GFS and the European have, actually the GFS late this afternoon on its run brought snow all the way down to Atlanta, which would be quite an experience down in Atlanta if they get snow down there because they shut down for flurries. But it would be on a Saturday anyway. But
Right.
yeah, I really didn't come away with any. Like I said, I didn't really come away with anything new. The pattern is very chaotic. There's a lot of energy running around. You got all this blockiness developing in the North Atlantic and across the Arctic region. It appears that it's going to be there pretty much straight through with just minor interruptions for at least the next 2.5 weeks. So it's hard to imagine that we would go 2.5 weeks in a cold pattern like this and not get a flake or an ice pellet. But we've seen stranger things happen. But I tend to agree with what you said yesterday, and that was uh, there might be something or some things along the way that might not reveal themselves until we're in the short range, like inside 4 or 5 days.
Yes. Yeah.
There may be some vague hints going in, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if we wind up seeing a couple of surprises in the next couple of weeks, and just in the general flow of the pattern, and not being able to anticipate it.
Yeah, and I still believe that that is possible, especially since we have two systems, the one at the end of the week, and then the one that you mentioned that might bring you some snow over the weekend, and there's yet a third system that will be looming about the middle part of next week. I find it, and if you look at this, it seems to you that all three could pass well south of New York City, but you never know. Sometimes within a few days, things kind of change a little bit, just enough to lift the trough. Now, the troughs for the first two systems look like they're going to be more positive than anything else, and they don't really go negative until they're off the coast and then moving out to sea, which would mean intensification and significant amount of precipitation with that, but that would be happening over the fish, not over us. But still, things change. We've seen that happen sometimes within a matter of just a few days, and again, I wouldn't say don't completely write off the Friday or the weekend system because, again, things may suddenly twist a little bit and move. And that would be funny. I know that your poll that you put up on the chat board asks who's going to have at least an inch of snow over the next over the next week or 10 days,
I think I
you
said
or
two
me?
weeks. I said two
It's
weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
I have a funny feeling it's going to be you.
It might be. I think the big issue from Friday through the middle part of next week is the fact that there's three distinct short waves, and there's when you look at them and how close they are to each other, it's hard to justify um, room. There's no real room between those three systems. You need some room for I mean, forget the first one because the first one basically sets up the next two. But uh, if that doesn't get far enough out of the way, then the second one can't lift up. It's going to get suppressed to the south before it makes the turn and starts its climb. And if that one doesn't get out, well, now that has to get out of the way far enough so that the one behind it has some room. So there's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of traffic coming down out of Canada and dropping southeastward. But if you get these short waves, even if they're strong short waves, if they're too close together, there's no room for them to turn up the coast. I think that's my biggest issue with regards to these next three systems is the fact that there's not that much space for them.
Yeah, and if you don't have enough wiggle room, so to speak, you sometimes don't end up with any substantial or significant changes. So we'll see what happens. Right
Yeah.
now, the thing that we're concerned about is not so much the snow, but the cold. This is going to be probably the coldest shot of air that we've had around here, at least up here, in the last 3 years.
Yes, and in the longer range, if it plays out right, there's probably going to be a few more to deal with down the road. So this is just we're in in a kind of way, the way these highs are coming down from the north, one after the other, it sort of reminds me a little bit of January of '77. Although that was colder, I mean, clearly that was colder, but I'm just in terms of the overall pattern with the highs coming down, and to an extent too. Also, if you want to look at maybe January of 13 or February I'm sorry, January of 14 and February of 15 to an extent. But tonight will be the coldest night of the winter so far. I brought up some of the low temperatures. If you're watching on a big screen, you can see the numbers. But most lows from New York City on north look to be 10 or less. And if you head up to about I-90 and go north of there, most lows there are going to be running close to zero and even below zero. While you head down to southern New Jersey, southern Pennsylvania, down into Maryland and northeastern Virginia, you're looking at most lows in the middle teens. And then, of course, that will lead to Tuesday, which will be the coldest dayside day of the winter season so far. Temperatures from New York City north, probably not getting out of the teens. Temperatures from I-90 north, many areas maybe not getting out of the single digits. And then you have to go down to maybe southern New Jersey, southern Pennsylvania, into Maryland and Virginia, where you have temperatures that make their way into the low 20s. And Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, Joe, this is still a little tricky in my book because if the winds drop off in spots, that could make some of these temperatures lower. But it appears that Tuesday night into Wednesday morning could wind up being every bit as cold as tonight and Tuesday morning, and possibly colder. The forecasts on the digital forecast going for lows of 11 at LaGuardia, 8 at Islip, 8 at White Plains, 3 at Poughkeepsie, 2 below at Hartford, 7 below in Pittsfield in Massachusetts, 2 below in Springfield, Trenton 8, Philadelphia 13, Atlantic City 9, Harrisburg 11, Baltimore 15, Washington 17, Scranton 6, Allentown 6. So you get the idea here. And then we'll get our temperatures to bounce, which will be nice for Tuesday night I'm sorry, after Tuesday night. I think what temperatures should bounce up into the 30s on Wednesday as the core of the cold air pulls out.
Yes, and in fact, you may remember a few days ago I said that because of the fact that man and women, human, or we on this part of the mammal scale, we're very, very quick to acclimate. And over the next day or two, we're going to acclimate quickly to these very cold temperatures with, again, the winds gusting. But then again, when we get to Wednesday and Thursday of this week, and temperatures don't exactly warm up into the 70s or 80s, but still, if we get well into the 30s or even touch 40, it's going to feel like, the coming of spring. People will be dancing in the street because it'll be so much nicer, as opposed to what we're going to be dealing with again over these next 24 to 30 hours with the frigid cold temperatures. Again, we acclimate very quickly to the cold, and once we get into that much milder air, oh, it's going to be so nice Wednesday and Thursday. I've already told my wife Thursday, tentatively now, Thursday, we're going to probably take all of the outdoor Christmas lights down because that'll be about as warm as I think it's going to get over the next week or so.
Right.
And so we might as well take advantage of those mild temperatures or milder temperatures later in the week. Because as you said, we may have more of this cold stuff coming our way as the month progresses.
And the chairman, Scott Briller, hitting Super Chat tonight. Thank you, Mr. Scott. He is, what's the word I'm looking for? Boy, my head, I'm in one of these, my brain is like getting stuck from time to time where I can't come up with the words. But he's making reference to our former our former gas bag governor. Back in the day, we didn't have computer models when I was governor.
Oh,
You had a lot of things, but you had a lot of things, but you didn't have computer models when you were governor. In the meantime, looking at the U.S. satellite view, it is not a lot going on across the U.S. for a change. We actually had a fairly busy stretch for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, and of course the West has been out of control since the middle of December. There ain't nothing. There's a storm off the West Coast, and you kind of see it on the upper left there on the satellite loop. But much of the country tonight is actually fairly clear. There's a little bit of activity going on in parts of Florida in terms of some showers. And there's some moisture across the Gulf of Mexico going back into South Texas. And that really is about it. Oh, I should mention, and thank you, Timothy Veltman, but my buddy Shane Muckey, who's on the east shores of Lake Ontario, is getting absolutely hammered and has been getting absolutely hammered with lake effect snows. And you can take a look here. This streamer that comes out of Lake Ontario, Joe, has been there since this morning. And it just runs west to east. It's barely moved. They must have feet on the ground in Watertown or surrounding areas around Watertown, Pulaski. It's all north of Syracuse on I-81. That band has just been unrelenting, and still shows no signs of it going away. So, and I know Shane loves these lake effect snow bands. So enjoy yourself, okay? Enjoy yourself. And by the way, there are some other snow showers, little bands of snow showers going on from lake effect in southwestern New York and across western Pennsylvania. Most of it looks to be on the light side based on the radar. And there are also some snow showers up in northeastern New York, moving into parts of Vermont and into western Mass. Here are your showers and 1 or 2 thunderstorms in central Florida at the moment. And we've got a little bit of rain in West Texas, Southwest Texas, and near the border of New Mexico from El Paso and places north and west of there. That's mostly snow in southern New Mexico, and a little bit of rain in the Pacific Northwest in western Washington, and a little bit of snow going on in eastern Washington. Otherwise, the rest of the radar is in a snooze fest.
Now, if you wanted to know about the, or we're guessing about how much snow has fallen underneath that ribbon of snow that has been sitting there since this morning. And I just brought up the public information statement, the most recent one from the folks at the National Weather Service in Buffalo. So I thought you might be interested in this. First, we'll start with, well, we only have two counties here mentioned, Oswego County and Lewis County. In
Right.
Oswego County, we have 2 miles west-southwest of Oswego, 4 inches. In Mexico, I did not know we had a Mexico.
I have been to Mexico, New York, just so you know.
Okay, 4 inches for them. 2 miles west of Oswego, 4.2 inches. Now we start getting up there, Joe. 8 miles north of Redfield, New York, 11 inches. 2 miles north of Richland, New York, 11 inches. Redfield, New York, 21 inches.
Nice.
3 miles southwest of Osceola, or is it Osceola? Anyway, 3 miles southwest of there, 30 inches of snow. And in Lewis County, one report, 1 mile east-northeast of Osceola, 18. That shows you. You could be 1 mile east-northeast of this town, Osceola, and get 18 inches. But you can be 3 miles southwest of Osceola, and you have 30 inches.
But nobody's wow. nobody's ever in Osceola. Did you notice that?
No,
nobody's there in the city to actually take a measurement from the center of the city. They're either 3 miles north or 2 miles south. Nobody, does anybody want to go there? I mean, what's the deal here? We need a downtown, we need a beautiful downtown measurement. Yeah, lake effect. I have said for many years, that's one thing I really would want to do up in the wintertime, at least once, to go up there during a lake effect episode and just watch it evolve, and hopefully, pick a spot where it doesn't snow much above the first floor, and you got a second floor, hotel room, just in case, Now,
I wonder.
Go ahead.
I wonder if, and I'm going to check. You could keep talking. I'm going to check to see whether or not they have like a Holiday Inn or a Motel 6 in Osceola County.
Yeah, take a look.
Osceola.
Yeah, tell them Tom Bodette sent you.
Yes. Leave the light on.
Leave the light on. David Fuller hitting super chat tonight. Thank you, David. Let's see if we can send you some snow your way in Monmouth County sometime in the next couple of weeks. And while Joe is checking out that data, I'm going to just move around and we'll do a little bit of teleconnecting here so that, in today's teleconnections were really not that much different than what we've been seeing for the last couple of days. The NAO going negative. Now, there are a couple of the members that go about one standard deviation or a little bit more than one standard deviation from the mean, but most of them are hovering between the neutral line to a little bit positive to a little bit negative. Okay, I can, that's fine by me. That certainly works for me. And we are coming down quickly at the end of this week, thanks to this developing storm that's going to start forming over Florida and then heading northeastward and going up to Nova Scotia. I kind of thought that New Brunswick, eastern New Brunswick, and parts of areas in western Nova Scotia and then points north could do quite well with this particular storm, since it does intensify to a major storm as it moves up to the northeast. And actually, on the latest run, a little bit of snow backs into Cape Cod for a couple of hours. So we'll see if that's as far west as it gets. I imagine it might inch another, few miles. It's not impossible, but we'll see. Jason Kaplan hitting super chat tonight. Thank you for hitting the tip jar, sir. Most appreciated as always. Let's check out the PNA, the Pacific North America Index, which is going positive even as we speak. And just about all the members stay slightly positive, or maybe up to about one standard deviation positive. So for those of you snow lovers out there who like to look at these things, you can put two, I would call them tepid check boxes in your favor because of the fact that they're not strongly positive, but they're positive enough. And then we have what's interesting to me is the Arctic Oscillation, which is very volatile in its view over the next 2 weeks. You kind of zigzag up and down, up and down. You've got a couple of members that actually go more than 2 standard deviations negative at some point during around, let's say, January 22nd, 23rd. There are some of them that go as much as 2 standard deviations positive, but the AO is a little tricky. I've seen the Arctic oscillation be positive, and as long as it's behaving itself, it could still also create a cold scheme across Canada and across the eastern part of the United States. So the AO is, it's interesting to me. I think the part that interests me more is the fact that it's going up and down and up and down over every couple of days. It kind of makes a change. So it's telling you that there's a lot of pressure changes going on, and they're happening very quickly across the Arctic region. So a lot of volatility, and from volatility, sometimes you can get some storminess out of it. But we'll see how that plays out. Mr. Ray, are you still there, or are you still looking?
No. I've found 7. Believe it or not, I found 7 hotels in Osceola, New York.
Okay.
So I mean, if you now let's get this straight. If you are a real snow lover and you really want to see snow, and you, as you said, Joe, you've always wanted to see lake effect in action. Here you go. You can go to any one of these places. We have the Evergreen Inn, which the lowest price there is $55. It's a bed and breakfast. You have Super 8 Osceola. Oh, wait a minute. That's not Osceola, New York. That's Osceola, Iowa, believe it or not. So we can't go there. That's the wrong Osceola.
Right. That's for tornadoes.
There's the Days, the Days in Osceola, which I presume is New York. Lowest price, $82. American Osceola. You know what? Now that I'm looking at this, Joe, I'm not sure now where these Osceolas are. There are too many Osceola hotels. There's the Evergreen Inn, the Super 8 Osceola, the American Osceola, then there's Quality Inn. I could believe that would be Osceola, New York. Anyway, you could probably spend anywhere between $55 and $90 a night to go to one of these hotels. You just check yourself in, sit down, pull the shade, look out the window, and enjoy. There are a number of places that you can probably go to bed down. Now, how you get out of there and back to the airport or back on the road?
Yeah, that's your problem. That's your problem.
That's your problem.
That's your problem. Now and it's a trip that you have to kind of. It's not something you can plan a month in advance. You have to really sort of wait till you're inside the short range to look at what's going on and say, hey, this looks like a good lake effect, type of situation. So let's get in the car. Right. Let's get in the car tonight or tomorrow and go. So maybe one of these days. Now I've got something I want to show you.
Chris N says, trust me, there are no Super 8s in Osceola. There are barely 8 people in Osceola.
Right. And if you do go up, and if you do go up there, you might as well take your fly rod with you, so at least you can go fishing. Unless you may have an aversion to standing in ice cold water in the river, but so some people are diehards. But I want to show you this, and I'm kind of curious as to your never to be humble opinion. And of course, now that I brought, all right, it's back. Now take a look at this, Joe. Take a look at what it's actually gotten even more interesting here with what the guys from WPC are doing. All right, this is for I saw this earlier. They had snow before it just changed now because the map refreshed. This is for I think it was for Sunday into Monday. They had from Eastern Virginia, Northeast, all the way up into Maine, a 10 to 40% chance of at least a quarter of an inch liquid equivalent of snow or sleet. Look what they're doing now. This is for Saturday and Sunday. They have from North Carolina, virtually almost all of North Carolina except the extreme east and southeast, northernmost South Carolina, and me and northeast Georgia. I'm in that green area there, all the way up, to upstate New York, central Vermont, central New Hampshire, a 10 to 40% chance. And I was looking what they did earlier today, and I was looking at the model guidance and thinking, yeah, I'm trying to figure out what they're thinking here. Why are they doing this? Because if you looked at the models, except for maybe the Canadian, which is the furthest north of all of them, I don't know. I mean, I don't want. What do they know that I don't know? I mean, what are your thoughts here? Because I'm a little perplexed. This says from valid 12Z Saturday to 12Z Sunday. So let me look at Saturday. So Saturday, this is Friday into Saturday. They have nothing. Right here, the map is loading, so it's done loading. Okay. Then suddenly from Saturday into Sunday, they got snow everywhere. I mean, if you want to believe this, at least a 10. And they have a 40, by the way, they have a 40 to 50, what is that? 40 to 60% chance in the dark green in eastern West Virginia. So for the life of me, I'm perplexed as to why they did this. And I'm going to jump to Monday to see if they got anything. So now look at this. And this is for Sunday into Monday. I mean, what does it snow for 2 days? Where does all this come from? From Eastern Virginia, Joe, all the way up into Maine, almost all of Pennsylvania except the western third, upstate New York except the southwest. Everybody is snow all the way up.
Maybe they're looking at the ensembles. I mean, I could see on the GFS.
I looked on the ensemble. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, the GFS ensemble, the surface system on Sunday evening at like 7 o'clock is just off of Hatteras, but it doesn't move up along the eastern seaboard, let's say up through the 4070 box. It moves well south and east of our area, but it still gives a little bit more hope as opposed to the operational models.
Right.
That's the GFS idea. And the European is somewhat similar. I don't know. I really, maybe it's a CYA forecast,
Well, from a standpoint of geography, it's an awfully big CYA. But yeah. The only thing
from the front, it looks like you from the back.
Right. From the GFS at 18Z. The one thing I did notice now, here's the low this is the low for Thursday night into Friday. Okay, yeah, you can see that a little bit of snow actually touches Cape Cod. The snow gets down to almost a 970 low, and when it's in a position of about 38 and roughly 38 and 66, and then it just really wraps up into the 950s and heads towards east. Nova Scotia, central and western Nova Scotia, Joe, and easternmost New Brunswick are going to get clobbered out of this as it goes by. I mean, the only thing that might keep them from really going crazy with snowfall amounts is the fact that it is kind of moving, very, very quickly. Now that goes out, and of course, we talked. You mentioned the fact that Thursday's your day to clean up because, we talked about this yesterday with this very deep low developing to the east at Nova Scotia. That's going to allow this high to build down. I mean, we're going to have the low level flow is going to be coming down from northeastern Canada and then straight down through New England and down the coast. And I think the low level cold, the temperatures at the lowest levels are going to be pretty cold here for Friday night going into Saturday. And it's also going to be on the windy, and the breezy to windy side, especially along the coast. So Friday's not going to be a joy. I don't think Friday's going to be a joyride from the standpoint of temperatures.
And you can remember back in the days, you and I, Joe, and people like Andy Gregorio, for example, people that we knew in the business, who would look out like 3, 4, 5 days ahead, and say, maybe maybe there's a chance. Maybe that, because back then, folks, we were big snow lovers. We wanted snow in the worst way. I mean, most of the time we never got it, but we'd look at a pattern that's coming up like this, Joe, in the next 5 to 7 days, and you say, well, there's still a lot of room. Still a chance.
Yeah.
There's still, if that thing goes a little to the left, or if it comes a little bit, and it does in a way look that way. So it's not a surety or certainty, and maybe not the Friday system, but maybe the one on Sunday could, pose some problems or some headaches for forecasters up here as we get closer to that event. So we shall see.
And of course, you can already see up in North Dakota the next low. And what's really interesting, Joe, is the fact that this is all happening, of course, as we said, with these big pressure changes in the geographic areas that they're occurring, is why the NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation, is taking its dive. You don't see lows drop from North Dakota down to Georgia very often. I mean, this one really takes a dive southeast. Now, the one thing I did notice on this run was when it makes the turn off the South and North Carolina coast on this run versus the prior run, it did come a little bit further to the north, not by a lot, but it did come a little bit further to the north. Now, I would point out that for areas, if this winds up verifying literally, there's going to be a decent area of snow that's coming down there through Illinois, down into Kentucky and Tennessee, and into North Georgia. This could be, the way it's literally presented on the GFS, if it's as far south as it is, this actually could wind up being a significant snow producer for northern Georgia, for northern the northern part of South Carolina, and most of North Carolina except the coast, eastern Tennessee. Now, there could be some sizable snow amounts, and not just in the mountains. We're talking, places like Raleigh-Durham, Winston-Salem, Greensboro, in northernmost South Carolina, places like Anderson, for just as an example. So eastern Tennessee, Gatlinburg, Knoxville. So this is something, that this area, and of course I'm down here in this area in northern Georgia, I think needs to watch the snow amounts being, like the precip amounts are substantial enough that we're looking at some places being generating 6 inches or more outside of the mountainous area. So this is, you got this high to the north. It's kind of wedging down cold air. You can see it here, the cold air wedge into the southern Appalachians. Again, the question is, because you don't see it too often when you see these, a low that comes all the way down like this. Well, that arrow is probably way too far, but comes all the way down like this and then makes the turn. That's very unusual, and this is all that cold air, as I said, that's draining southwards. It's going to be very, very important for areas in the southeastern part of the United States if that low winds up tracking that way. And I'm not 100% sure that it will, but that is something that has to be considered.
Now, this pattern is on the extreme side of things. I have a book, and I've always been plugging it. I don't get a dime off of plugging it, but I think everybody who is into snow and cold and historic weather should get. It's winter storms in the northeastern United States from like 1950 to 1980. It was written by Paul Cosin and
I have that
Oscillation.
book. It's a great book.
And if you look at it, is a great book and has a lot of monographs of all these famous historic storms. And one in particular, this pattern that you're pointing out right now stands out. There was a storm in March of 1956, and I was not yet, well, actually, I was a gleam in my father's eye by that time. I arrived here on this earth a few months later. But in March of 1956, there was a storm that initially didn't look like it was going to be much of a snow producer at all. It was an Alberta clipper, and these clippers usually dive on down across the Great Lakes, then move up either over us or to our north. This particular system, because of the fact that the air was so cold and there was a high pressure cell that was blocking its eastward movement, the storm ended up passing south and east of us through Virginia. And since storms have a counterclockwise rotation, a storm moving eastward through Virginia would have the same effect as a storm coming up along the eastern seaboard. And as a result, as the storm has moved off the coast, got its feet wet and intensified, we ended up with northeasterly winds and very heavy snow. We had something like 1 to 2 feet of snow across the northeast corridor from Washington on up to Boston. And what you're talking about, Joe, for significant snow or heavy snow, possibly as far south as even Georgia or Tennessee or South Carolina, that is the kind of a storm that we may be looking at for again this upcoming weekend. Diving rapidly southeastward, and especially you watch when that thing gets off the coast. If indeed, as the ensemble is correct, and it moves off of Hatteras and gets its feet when it suddenly explodes or intensifies, there you go. Then there is the logical explanation, or as Ricky Ricardo would say, the logical explanation for the possibility of some snows all the way up through New England, but as far south as Georgia. And once again, also, whereas the forecasts now in New York, for the most part, are just saying maybe a few snow showers on Sunday. As we get closer to that event, let's say Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we may not be talking about just snow showers. Maybe we'll start talking about a period of snow. And who knows, by then, by the weekend, maybe significant or heavy snow. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I said yesterday. In this type of a pattern, and you said it too, Joe, because of the lack of any wiggle room or something, you cannot really go much beyond 3 or 4 days. So many things can change. So many things can get altered in the pattern. And while I think it's enough right now that we alert all of our good viewers here on Joe and Joe Tonight to say simply, watch out for the weekend. Watch out for that system over the weekend. We'll go as far as that. But then, we're also making the illusion that things could change, and you just alluded to it yourself. Things could change, and we could have a whole different ball game on our hands by later in the week or the start of the upcoming weekend.
Well, look, I'll say this: when you look at the model runs today, and did I bring it back up on the screen? No, let me bring it back on the screen. We'll bring back. This is the 18Z GFS from today, and there's our low that I said drops southward, and it makes the turn. Now, what's preventing this from moving up, okay, is the fact that you got this, that low that you see up near Lake Superior. That is we mentioned this yesterday, that's sort of acting as the kicker system that's pushing that out to the east. Now, what if that, just as a possibility, what if that weren't there? Or what if that's much weaker? Or one other possibility is that the storm on Friday, when it moves up to Newfoundland, doesn't really decide, instead of lifting out, it just kind of stalls near the 50-50 position, forces this one to kind of dive southeastward and weaken. That's probably a way that would force this coastal system to climb, okay, to climb northward rather than move out east-northeastward. Maybe that's what WPC is looking at. Maybe they're saying, you know what, there's enough going on out in the Atlantic. I'm going to get the wider upper air so we can, have a bit of a better analysis of this, because ultimately that's where the clues are going to come from. I still kind of rate it as a bit of a long shot, but still, it's bothering me that WPC is doing what they're doing, because I'm not, I'm trying to justify that. And are they looking here, for example, look at next Sunday, okay? Are they looking at this? So let me just roll this back. So here's Friday's system, Thursday night, Friday. You got this sharp trough right along 75. It lifts up to the northeast. You get the storm to go up to Nova Scotia. Then you got the follow-up upper low there that drops down into Tennessee. So we're watching that move eastward. Are they looking at this, Jonah? This is Sunday morning, okay? This is Sunday morning. Are they looking at this upper high That is a really strong upper high in southern Greenland back out to the Azores. Are they looking at that and saying that that holds this in place, which, in turn forces this to lift up more closer to the coast rather than get ejecting out underneath? I don't know. I'm speculating here openly. At the same time, you still got this short wave that's right behind it, so you're going to have to rectify that. And then there's another one right behind that one. So, I don't know. I don't know. It's a really complex. It's a very, very complex look that we have here.
And I'll use the hockey analogy, the 5-on-4. You're watching. If you're a hockey fan, you can really understand this. That you've got one guy in the penalty box. You're on a power play, and you're looking at the opposing team's goalie, and you're shooting one shot after another shot after another shot after another shot. And if you keep that up, eventually something's going to get through that goalie and into the net. And this is the pattern that we're in right now that reminds me of that, because we're going to have shot number one on Friday. We'll have the second shot on Sunday. We're going to have a third shot on Wednesday. Who knows how many more behind that? I mean, you got to figure, Joe, that one of these is going to get into the net, and one of these might actually give the Northeast another, at least accumulating snow, if not maybe one of those substantial or significant or very heavy snowfalls. That's not out of the question.
No,
and I'll tell you what, 40 years ago, you, me, Gregorio, and a couple of the other guys who were looking around the NAFAX machine are yelling out, this could happen. I can see that on Sunday. And especially Andy. I remember Andy says, hey, guys, it's in the bag. We're going to get it.
Well,
and here we are now 40 years later, a little older, a little wiser, but we're still saying,
We're still looking. We're always looking.
Yeah.
Yep. The pattern is so chaotic. There's so much going on in so many different places. Maybe it'll become clearer in the next few runs that the guys at WPC are wise, far wiser than you and I are. By the way, Chuck Cardillo hitting super chat tonight. Thank you, Chuck, for the kind words, saying great forecasting and dedication for all your weather geeks. Both of us are fantastic. Thank you very much. Really, very kind of you to say. And by the way, we got 108 likes so far. We didn't even have to ask for 100 likes, which is even better. And welcome to those of you, by the way, who are watching the show for the first time. We hope you're enjoying it. Joe and I are on 5 days a week, usually 4 nights, Sunday through Thursday, and only if there's a storm going on a Friday or a Saturday do we come on. Otherwise, we take a couple of days off, and then Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Also, if you haven't noticed it yet, we have a poll up tonight. Will Joe Chop, given the pattern and everything we talked about tonight, will Joe Chaffee or Joe Rayo see 1 inch or more of snow during the next 10 days? And it's neck and neck, Joe, 48% for me, 52% for you. And I also want to acknowledge a new super chat hit, which was a...
Did we mention Sal? Sal Patchy or
No, this is a new. This hit just came on the board. I can't see it, so maybe you can.
I can, and I want to say thank you, Sal. That was a very, very, very nice super chat hit from Sal for the two of us.
Definitely most appreciated. Definitely most appreciated. Yes. Thank you very, very much. And by the way, for those of you who are on my subscription weather platform on Patreon, which starts at $2 a month, I did a long range video this afternoon, and also earlier today I did a long range analysis about what's going on. So if you want, make sure, if you haven't yet, check out the link that is posted there on the chat board. It's pinned to the top. So to give you access to my subscription site. And yes, Sal Patchy, appreciate really awesome, and thank you again for the super chat hit. I'm going to run through the long range real quick on the GFS, and by the way, the European. I'll go to the European in a second. Assuming that
and
all
before
of
you get
this.
into that, Joe, before you get into that, Renata just came down and gave me this piece of information. I don't know if she wanted me to announce it or not, but the Kingston, New York School District. Now, Kingston is just a stone's throw away to my north. They are delaying school openings tomorrow for 2 hours, by 2 hours, because of the, quote, extreme cold. Now, you and I, growing up, can remember outbreaks of cold weather that was a lot worse than what we're anticipating tomorrow. And I mean, they never closed or delayed the schools for us.
They had it this morning too.
They had it this morning. They actually delayed the
you've
school
got to be kidding me. When does this stop? Jesus, really, this is so ridiculous. It's the kind of stuff they do down here, by the way. And I'm not trying to be nasty about it, but here at least it doesn't happen very often, so folks aren't used to it. And I get that, but come on, up in the Northeast, you've got to be kidding me. Oh, and by the way, I went to school with nuns, and so were you. And you know what? This was right. This was a sauna in comparison to some of the days that we had to go, and we had to stand out. And we didn't go inside. We had to stand outside in the schoolyard until they rang the bell at 8:45. Michael McGuire.
Good old Holy Rosary.
Yes.
Good old Holy Rosary on Pleasant Avenue in Harlem.
Yes, I went to St. Philip and James in the Bronx, so that's closed now. Michael McGuire hitting super chat tonight. He's got his fingers crossed for a foot plus in the North Carolina Piedmont. Well, if you get that southern track, sir, not impossible.
I like your odds better than ours.
Yeah,
I like your odds better than ours, Mike.
Actually, it wouldn't be impossible for me to get a sizable snowfall if that were the case. So, just running through the GFS over the next couple of weeks, and most of the most recent runs have been not that different. I'm actually quite impressed by the fact that it just, the pattern just stays not only active, but I'm really intrigued by what happens in the Pacific after 7 or 8 days from now, if that's correct, because the Pacific, there's a split flow that develops, and you get a lot of energy that is running across the southern part of the northern Pacific, if you want to call it that. But you can see these short waves that are starting to come in. They're mostly south of 40 degrees north, down to the latitude of Hawaii, pushing toward the west coast. And you've got this split flow in the west, a blocking high building up from the Atlantic into Greenland. And also on the other side of it, you've got higher than normal pressures from Alaska northeastwards, just sort of wrapping all the way around with an upper low sitting at Hudson Bay. That is a very interesting looking upper air that is, if that's correct, that sets up for the end of the month of January and going into the month of February. I'm very intrigued by this. And by the way, there's ensemble support for this on earlier runs. I didn't check the 18Z ensembles, but the 18Z, the 12Z ensembles and the 6Z ensembles had a very amplified for 16 days from now, had a very amplified trough in the eastern part of the United States. The other thing I was thinking of, Joe, was that a couple of days ago was running through my head that in a pattern in an overall pattern like this, in a broad sense, you could get a setup that eventually pulls down a rather cold, a really cold Arctic high to come on down with some brutal temperatures. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if it is going to happen, this is the kind of this is something of the kind of a setup you would want to see to get some rather cold air. Again, speaking about this in a broad sense, but if you're a winter weather lover, you gotta love what the pattern looks like over the next couple of weeks and beyond. So.
Oh, you can't be a winter weather lover, Joe. Everybody gave up on winter last month.
That's right. Winter was over.
Winter was over. It was dead.
It's amazing. Yeah. Let's see, James Davison. You need some kind of a blocking pattern off the coast to drive these storms up the coast to our area, which will make it totally different, and we'll have the cold air in place. You do and you don't. I mean, I could point to examples where we've had some sizable snowfalls where the blocking was almost non-existent. I think there are other things. There are other things that that you got to look at too. I mean, blocking is great if you have it, but it can also work against you. It's got to be perfect. So you know, we've had some sizable snowfalls where the blocking was not quite what it needed to be. So anyway, but I understand your point. I'm just pointing out that there are other options. By the way, Tom, you can undo the unlike button. All you have to do is click it again, and it'll disappear. So it's not like it's permanent. Okay. And by the way, on the European today, we had as far as comparing it to the GFS is concerned, it's even more suppressed with the system that's coming southeastward, moving down almost to the Florida Panhandle and going east of Florida. Then it's got another trough that wraps around. It really didn't do anything with regards to anything significant in its 10-day stretch. It just seemed to take these troughs and keep them very broad and relatively weak. Again, I don't know. I just don't know if that's correct or not. I go back to what I said about the fact that there's just too much going on with respect to the upper air, and we're just going to have to be very patient with every run and see if more surprises are in store. Raggy Stern, who wants that snow up in Rockland County, and he wants it as soon as possible. Well, look, if WPC is correct, you're going to have it for 2 days this weekend. So we'll see. I'm at the the state of confusion is taking its toll on me, Mr. Rayo. That's all. That's what I'll say.
I'm in the midst right now. I'm on his Facebook page, and I am writing to Andy Gregorio, and I'm asking him if we are extending to him an invitation, a special invitation for him to, especially with the pattern that's shaping up for the next few days, to come on with us and discuss old times, maybe talk about this setup for later on in the week, since we did mention him. At least I did, so more than a few times. And there are a couple of people like Tim Veltman who remember watching Andy on TV up his way, up from the Capital District and points north up to Saratoga. Andy was a fixture there for a good number of years. So I'm going to extend the invitation. Let's see if we can get him. I mean, heck, if we can get Lonnie Quinn to come, why not? Why not?
Tell him,
Andy Gregorio, right?
Tell him we'll waive the appearance fee, the the hair fee. We will also waive the restriction that no two people with the same hair color of Joe Rayo can appear at the same time.
Well, then that's a problem because Andy has gone gray.
Is he gray or white on his hair? I forget.
I think he's part gray and part white. I think
off-white
on top. Yeah, something like that.
All right. Well, yeah. Absolutely, he's welcome. We'll have a lot of fun. We'll definitely have a lot of fun. I'm going to
see if we can get him. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to sneak a peek here on Pivotal Weather to look at the 18Z European, even though it only goes out 90 hours. But at least
right.
just to see for.
By the way, I lost my ability of getting that model because after all of these years, they finally WSI finally did what they said they were going to do for a number of years. They said they were going to change and upgrade the site, and in which case I wouldn't have any more access to it. But they finally did that a couple of months ago. So now I no longer have my ability of being able to grab onto that.
Well, they just laid off a bunch of people there today at
Wow.
News 12 Long Island. There's hardly any.
Really?
Yeah. I think it was announced, like I saw it somewhere online like a month or so ago, or maybe a little bit longer than that. And then I thought, then I didn't really see anything more about it. So I thought maybe it was just, some kind of BS. But then today, I saw a few posts from folks that, that were laid off. I'm not going to say anything who it was, but, you could easily go on, Google and find it. But
Right.
yeah. Shraggy Stern hitting super chat for a second time, in the hopes that WPC will be correct in their assessment and in their analysis. I'm trying to see why they have it for Saturday and for Sunday. I am beside my. Let me put it this way: if they're going to be right, this has got to start showing up on the short range models rather soon. Okay. Yeah, the 90 hour doesn't go out too far. It only goes out now to what's the last frame on here? It goes out to Friday morning at 7 a.m. So we're obviously not going to glean too much out of that. And I'm just going to check here. The other thing I wanted to look at was to see they've got temperatures going up to the upper 30s and low 40s for Thursday, which I don't have a problem with. I think they're going to have to lower some of these numbers that they have for Friday, because unless they're left over from Thursday night after midnight, and I'm not able to see. I'm looking at the digital forecast from the Weather Service, and for Friday they're going 37 for New York, 37 for Philadelphia, Baltimore 36, Washington 36, 35 for Poughkeepsie. It gets colder when you go up to southern Vermont, 21, I guess, to Burlington. I don't know. I think these numbers are too high. They're going to have to come down for Friday if the GFS is correct. I mean, that's my opinion. Johnny Quest hitting super chat, asking any chance of phasing with some of those systems. Well, if you look at when we look showing at the upper air, you kind of have. You've got that southern system sort of in between the one to the northwest and then the one to the east. So unless the one to the northwest starts to move like a rocket ship and phases tries to phase with the one in the south, I would say the chances of that are kind of low. But I'm not going to throw it completely out the window because of the fact I'm not going to completely, discount it because of the fact that there's just so much going on with respect to what's happening in the upper atmosphere right now.
They on the technical discussion, this was written at 4:10 this afternoon by two, not one, but two long-range forecasters, Roush and Tate. I don't think, I doubt very much it's Larry Tate.
Larry Tate, yes. I was going to go down that road too, but I'm glad you beat me to it.
Confidence remains fairly low for coverage and amounts of any wintry precipitation further east. Latest trends suggest a further south axis over the east with lower probabilities over the northeast. So that doesn't make any sense. Again, because they have much of the northeast, the mid-Atlantic, all the way down into the Piedmont covered with at least a 10 to 40% chance of something.
Right.
And now on this discussion at 4 o'clock, or just after 4, they're saying confidence remains, although they do say confidence remains fairly low. So maybe the confidence remains low, and that's why they're, as I said, it's a CYA forecast. They're doing that just for the heck of, covering themselves for any surprises that may happen over the weekend.
But wait, now, which discussion? This is the long range discussion, right? It's not. Does WPC put out a discussion for the stuff for the maps that they do? I mean, is there a discussion for the long range snowfall forecast map?
This is extended forecast discussion. NWS Weather Prediction Center, WPC, College Park, Maryland, 4:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Right, but that's the extended forecast discussion. Right. But I'm talking about the snow QPF that they put out. Is
Oh,
there?
well, I don't think, but that doesn't go beyond 3 days, does it? I don't think it goes.
No, I guess
They're not
not.
going to just. No.
They're putting
Yeah.
out a 4 to 8 day forecast, but there's no discussion for it. I guess I'm kind of surprised. By the way, the chairman points out that the last time the high temperature did not get out of the teens in New York City, anyway, was January 31st, 2019. The last time the high temperature did not get out of the single digits, was in
The
1985.
Dingle
The dingle digits, yes, was in
Yeah.
1985. And the last time in New York City Central Park was below zero was on Valentine's Day 2016, when I won a bet from some really obnoxious weather person on Facebook who I subsequently blocked and has blocked forever. Um, because I had forecasted it to go to below zero on that day, and he just rode my rear end to no end for 2 days all over Facebook. And then, of course, it turned out that it went down below zero, and he had to eat crow. But but overall, he just pissed me the hell off. Anyway, here we go.
Better to be pissed off than pissed on.
Yes, well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So at this stage of the night, when we are at 148 likes and perhaps a bit out of reach to getting to 200, but you know what? We'll give it the old try. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button, because Joe and I like to be liked. Chuck Cardillo says, I noticed today that the SOI has been very negative, the Southern Oscillation Index, in the last. Everybody's oscillating. Have you noticed this? Yeah, I mean, you got the Southern, you got the Southern Oscillation Index. So of course you've got the North Atlantic Oscillation, you got the East Pacific Oscillation, you got the the Southern Oscillation. You have the Arctic Oscillation, and then of course you have the two best oscillators of all, the Madden-Julian oscillation. Madden and Julian, when Madden's not busy, making electronic games of football for various platforms, he's doing meteorology and making those origami things that they have so that you could draw the 8 phases of the Madden-Julian oscillation. But the Chuck says that the SOI has been very negative the last few days. Doesn't that usually mean that the subtropical jet stream will become active in about a week to 10 days? Well, look, if you look at if that's true, now I don't follow the Southern Oscillation Index, but if that is the case, and you looked at the GFS in the longer range after about day 7 or 8, the strong westerly flow goes all the way down to Hawaii. That is a strong subtropical flow, and that's why I was saying that I'm kind of intrigued by that, if that is correct, as we head toward the end of the month, because that potentially has some strong implications going into the month of February if we're still holding on to that cold flow coming out of Canada. It's a very, very dynamic looking split flow if it were to verify. We don't know that it will, but maybe the SO that's a direct correlation to the SOI. Again, there are those that are like really into that sort of stuff, and I'm not among them. But for those in the know, the SOI may be giving us a signal here, Joe. So anyway, how's about we do a little Briller Jeopardy tonight? Are you ready?
All right, we can do that.
Okay,
I'm all ready.
This is
set and ready to go.
I think this is going to be a good one for you. This is MASH is the category, so you need to get 8 out of 10 to pass. All right. So, what 2 stars of the series actually served in the U.S. Army?
Jamie Farr, I know, was in the armed services, and let's see, who was the other one? I'm going to say, who's the first? Who's the one who played the actor who played Trapper?
Oh, he's right.
Darn,
His face is right in front of me. I don't remember his name,
yeah,
but I believe
yeah.
he. Yeah,
Well, who are the? What are the answers to this? Was I at least right with Jamie Farr?
You
Or?
were right with Jamie Farr, but there are no choices. There's no multiple choice here. You were right with Jamie
I did.
Farr.
Right, I did, but I just can't remember the guy who played Trapper. Wayne Rogers. Wayne Rogers.
Wayne Rogers. Well, that's wrong. It was Alan Alda.
Alan Alda was actually in the service.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
get
Jamie Farr worked with. He was a sidekick of Red Skelton. If they were the man who
yes.
was responsible for giving Jamie Farr his start in television or a start in as a comedian was Red Skelton. And when Red passed away, his wife, Red Skelton's wife, asked Jamie Farr to be one of the pallbearers along with some of the really big stars of Hollywood like Milton Berle. And you wouldn't expect Jamie Farr to be there, but he owed his career. He's often said that to Red Skelton. He traveled all over Korea and Japan and the Far East during World War II with Red Skelton. A lot of people think about Bob Hope as doing those tours and entertaining the troops. Red Skelton did that too, and again, he had as his sidekick or as his helper Jamie Farr. So anyway.
I got to type a message on the chat board really quick, Joe, before I finish. You get half a point. Okay, I'm just trying to spell this right. Okay.
Tom Contino said Henry Morgan, but believe it or not, Tom, there was a commentator, a radio commentator, and later a TV celebrity by the name of Henry Morgan, which was totally different from the guy who played Colonel Potter on MASH, who was Harry Morgan.
Yes.
And they often got confused.
Yes.
Harry Morgan and Henry Morgan.
So you get a half correct there for Jamie Farr. The pilot show was written in A, 2 hours, B, 2 days, C, 2 weeks.
I bet you it was written in 2 hours.
But
because it was based.
Yes, go ahead.
It was based upon some of the writers who actually were either in Korea or who worked for the MASH. And what I'm saying is that their memories were so fresh, and it was very easy for them to convey on paper or type on paper a script for or an outline for MASH based upon what they went through, as opposed to sitting down and saying, okay, now how are we going to figure this all out, and having them take like 2 days or even 2 weeks for that. So I'll say 2 hours.
The answer is 2, but it's days.
2 days.
Yes.
All right.
How many seasons did MASH last?
Was it 11? I think
it was indeed.
Seasons.
It was indeed 11. I didn't want to get you to change your mind, so you got it right. 11. What was the date of the series finale?
The date, the actual date.
The actual
I can tell you
date.
the year.
No, but he asked for the date. You must provide.
I know it's 1980.
You must provide the date. Yes.
1983. I think it was in March. Now I'll pick a March. I don't know. March 16th.
February 28th, 1983.
All right.
Emily Cole hitting super chat tonight, saying that her boys and her watch the show, and they want snow on Long Island. We're working on it, Emily. We're always working on it. I promise you. And thank you for the super chat hit, and thank you very much for the kind words. There were 3 spin-offs from MASH, from the original MASH series. Can you name the three of them?
Well, I know there was After MASH.
Correct.
That was the first spinoff. There was Walter.
Correct.
Which was a series about radar. And I guess Trapper John right?
That
Chopper
is
John?
correct. There's your
Okay.
your three spinoffs. How many episodes
Right.
did Alan Ola direct? And you must get this within 15.
He directed a lot of them toward the end of the run of the series. I'll say 24.
Well, you're within 15. The answer is 31. Only three actors. Can you name the three? I'm sorry, three characters. Only three characters lasted from the pilot to the finale.
That would have to be obviously Alan Alda, Hawkeye. Now you see, this is interesting because in one of those three, the character was maintained through the entire run, but it was played by two different actors. I'm talking about Falda Mulcahy. Somebody, I don't know the name of the actor who played him in the pilot episode, but he very quickly was set. They said goodbye to him and brought in William Christopher to play Mulcahy for the rest of the run. And Margaret Houlihan, Hot Lips Houlihan, who was there from the very beginning all the way to the very end, and that was played by who played Margaret Houlihan?
Her face is right in
God.
front of me. I can't remember.
Right. She actually came. Would you believe, Joe? She actually came to News 12 Westchester to be interviewed. She was at News 12 Westchester. I didn't get a chance to come down there to meet her, but and this was long after the show had seen its run. Who played Margaret Houlihan? Oh God,
Loretta Swit.
Loretta Swit.
Right. Okay. So what was the name of Radar's imaginary childhood friend?
Oh, I think that may have led into the episode about Tuttle. It wasn't Tuttle. That was Hawkeye's imaginary friend. I don't know. I really don't know.
All right. Well, I won't let you linger if you say you don't know. The answer is you want another minute?
No, I'll.
Okay, Shirley.
Shirley? Oh. Hey Ralph, he's even bigger than your friend Shirley.
Right. Okay. Who said, quote, "Are you eating breakfast cereal or is that just a bad telephone line?"
It sounds like something that I'll say Trapper. It sounds like something Trapper would say.
Actually, Klinger said it.
Klinger said
yes.
it. And who's he saying it to?
I don't know. And the last question is, what nickname did Frank Burns have?
Ferret Face.
Correct. And the bonus question is, what is the name of Klinger's wife?
Which one, Soon Lee or the first one?
Soon Lee. You are correct.
But he was married. He was married to somebody previous to Soon Lee, and then he broke up with her.
I don't know. Yeah, wasn't she back at home though?
Yeah, she was back in
the
Toledo.
States.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you did good. You did okay. Just shy of the 8, but you know what? It's tough to remember trivia as you get older.
Carl White's asked what was unusual about Radar. I think Radar had 6 toes. Is that right, Carl? Oh, he had a deformed left hand. I know there was some kind of deformity. It was either on his foot or on his hand. I just figured it was on his foot. So.
All right.
Anyway.
So you know what? We're coming up
enough of that.
We're coming up on 9 o'clock Eastern time, so we had a nice show tonight. On the longish side, but there was a lot to talk about. And you know, it's nice to see everybody. This is the winter time and the snow weenies, and you know, Joe and I get it because we're part of that group. Although we try to be impartial and just kind of stand back and look at things in a logical way, and I think we succeeded in that. But it's most enjoying in these sources for me in these situations to share the night with folks that are like-minded and have a love of weather, and particularly have a love of wintertime weather. So this was a fun show to do, and I think, given Joe what we're seeing with regards to the weather pattern, the overall weather pattern over the next couple of weeks, or maybe even longer, we're going to have a lot more fun and a lot more challenges over the coming days and weeks ahead. So,
here's a note from Renata, which I have to tend to now immediately after the close of this show. I'll let all of you see the note.
Mouse in the closet, right? That's what men are for.
Exactly.
The Joe and Joe Weather Show, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. Salt, sand, pellet, mag, ice pellets and flakes, anything you need to make sure that you can get your home cleaned up, the outside in front of your home and your driveway and your sidewalk and your neighbor's driveway and your neighbor's sidewalk, to get it clean after a winter storm. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, 631-756-1125. The lowest prices anywhere in the tri-state area. And the website is omnitruevalue.com. Yes, it is. So always remember that. So we will be back tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern. Joe, on the poll tonight, I pulled ahead. Okay. They're all thinking maybe me before you. 53%. Although, it's quite possible if WPC is right, we may both do it at the same time. 53% say I will get at least an inch of snow in the next 10 days before you do, but it's close. 47% say you will. So we'll know in 10 days. And by the way, it could also turn out that we could both get pitched a giant goose egg out of this, and that neither of us get to see it. But that is the risk that we take.
Yes. So we'll see you tomorrow night, 7:30.
7:30, folks. Good night, everybody.
Have a good one.